It's Jay, Stone Go, Gary Fife, Jaho Jifkidos.
Morgan Taylor, Jaho Jifkidos.
All right, we've got Morgan in here on the hot seat today. She's training to become a fill-in host and punching all the buttons. So if anything goes wrong today, we can blame her. So welcome to the program in the driver's seat, Morgan. We appreciate your interest in learning how to do this.
Yes, it's a lot right now, and I'm kind of nervous, but I'm excited.
Well, we're glad. We've got a couple things we'll be sharing. First of all, I imagine a lot of our listeners participate in or watch sports. And if you ever think about the job of the newscaster, the task is always difficult. Hang on there. Let me have mic number 2 there. Take it up. There we go. That's better. Okay, I hope everyone can hear me now. But what's it like to call the name in a Native American language? So I don't even know. We're going to find out what the word touchdown means or sounds like in Navajo.
Well, I'm excited to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, we're working out the kinks. I'm learning. This is my first time on the board, guys, so I'm kind of behind here, and I'm just trying to multitask as best as I can.
Oh, okay. Another Mvskoke woman, quite capable in what she does. We're going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Kyler Frank, who's with the local station there. Middle button. Mr. Frank, are you with us, sir?
Hello.
Mr. Frank? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll keep jabbering here. You hang up that line and punch up another one. We'll see if we can get you. So, actually, he was with a local, I believe, commercial station in New Mexico. And I understand they've been calling these football games for some time now. I saw an article in Native News today, Native News Online, rather. And it talked about he and his buddy, a guy named Glenn King, do these football games, and it's done in the Navajo language, or Dene as they prefer. And I thought that might be a pretty intriguing story to discuss. So we're going to get him on the line here again and try and have our interview with him and make sure things happening on his end. I believe he might be involved with a program there too. So we'll interview him interviewing us on the air down there. So hang with us here as we get our guest back on the line if we can talk with him.
Hello.
We got any luck there?
Hello. Hello. Yes, this is Morgan with Mvskoke Radio. Are you available?
Okay, hit that middle button and we're on the air.
He said 1 minute.
Okay. You know, it's always crazy when we're doing live stuff, you know. 1 minute might not mean much to most people, but when you're on the air, 1 minute can be an eternity. So we're going to fill this in when he's ready to talk, and then we'll hopefully have a show here. So.
He's on a different time schedule than us.
Right, I believe, what is New Mexico? Is that mountain time? I believe it is. And here we are.
You're right, Gary.
Yeah, I think we're in Central. I've done that. You know, when I used to work on a radio show in Alaska, people didn't believe us and saying, well, it's 3 hours later than your time. And so, you know, we'd set up something for noon their time, and it would be like 9 a.m. our time. So this is some of the fun we can have with the difference in the time zones. I'm sure he's trying to wrap up his program there and help us out on this one. So we just ask our listeners to be patient once more, and we'll have a show here.
You know, this is a really good story for football season, though.
Right. You know, I understand that George Tiger calls the local Bulldogs game, and I'm just wondering if he does it in Mvskoke, or whether or not someone could. I imagine so.
They do have a high Native American population at Oldsmobile.
At for the Bulldogs?
Yeah. Okay, he said he's ready, so we're going to put him on
Okay,
here.
punch him up and let's play. Mr. Frank, are you with us, sir?
Hello, Mr. Frank?
Okay, punch that phone up. There we go. Mr. Frank, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're working. Morgan Taylor here is our trainee and substitute host. So
I thought I knew what I was doing.
yeah. But then all of a sudden, when the panic sets in, when you hit that live on the ear button, was it like that for you when you started in radio, sir?
Excuse me?
Were you pretty nervous and a little klutzy when you started in radio?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason we wanted to talk with you today is, of course, I understand you're a sportscaster, and you do the local games in the Dene language, right?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, good morning, sir. I am a sportscaster. I'm also the radio station manager. I also, do a number of shows. This morning I was working on the show this morning as well. I had some community members talking about some of the events that are going on. But most importantly, just trying to get the stories out there for Native communities in our language, Navajo language.
Right, so you do all your broadcast in Dene language?
Yes, in Navajo, yeah.
Right. Now, we've watched the progress of Native American radio over a couple of decades. Give you a minor idea of how old I am. But, what we have seen is there has been a growing usage of native languages in various programs around the nation. I always thought it was perfect, so many people speak of using an oral tradition, and radio is perfect for it. And you can use language, you can tell jokes, all kinds of stuff, and have fun. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, like when you started, did you see a need for it, or did you just wanted to do it because it was different? What do you think?
Is that about the sportcast when I was in college, right? Is what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean native radio in general, but go ahead.
Well, I've always had a passion for radio, and I've always appreciated the old AM style radio broadcast, and just doing that kind of stuff. And I kind of got into it, but when I went off to college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But when I was over there, I used to entertain my friends at the football games and do play-by-play for them in Navajo, but only joking and just kind of added some color to it. And that's where it started. And I thought that it wouldn't come this far. But now here today, I am a manager for the radio station. I'm also doing some live shows here as well, and still getting in the community and doing some games, and did a couple games for college as well. But yeah, that's where it led to.
What station is that, by the way?
We're live on 107.3 FM in Crown Point, New Mexico, on the Navajo Nation, and we also online.
Okay, what are those call letters?
KCZY.
Okay, good. We thought we'd give your station a little bit of credit there. So now here, folks in Oklahoma know where to find you. Now, the whole idea, I think, is pretty intriguing. The use of our language have been disappearing among all native nations around the country, and it's so good to hear that. I guess progress is being made with your broadcast in your own language. Now, did you see a need for it? I mean, did people talk to you and say, that would be nice if it was in Dene, or did you take the idea to them? How did that work out?
Yeah, at the university or at here at the on the Navajo Nation?
On the nation.
Well, I didn't bring it to them. I kind of I just done it, shot it off the hips, and then it became something that people enjoyed. And I really, I think that getting the feedback from it, I think that people started to like it, and I started to do sports broadcasting, and it kind of came second nature. Getting help from the communities as well, getting terms and terminology some certain other sportscasters as well that were doing the same thing when I was getting involved, but they were doing it for quite a while out here on the Navajo Nation.
Now, go ahead, Morgan.
I had a question. I was curious, were there any words or anything that kind of didn't translate? Was that kind of hard when you do your sports broadcasting?
Yeah. At first it was there were some things that I couldn't translate, so I would just say, in English. Sometimes I would get all excited and I would say touchdown. But as time went through and time started to go, I started to really gather these terms and start to put them together. I'm also working on, I completed a whole document of terminology in football and basketball in Navajo. So I've named all of the positions, all of the whole terminology for football for my listeners to follow along with me in Navajo. So I'll have English translation of first down, English translation for encroachment, and so it's kind of long, but yeah, it's all going to be released soon.
Let me ask you if you would share some of those terms for us, like positions, like what would be the term for quarterback?
Quarterback would be, in Navajo, I would call him the one who throws the ball, or either a quarter, but I would call him the one who throws the ball, So those are the names for it.
So all the positions have Indian names. The one who throws the ball.
Yeah, and also like the one who guards the football, the one who guards who throws the football.
Can you give us some of those translations in your language?
Yeah, and those are all the terms, some of the terms right there. Running back, wide receiver, and the linebacker is what I just named in those respectively.
What about something like a personal foul or a penalty?
That would be, I guess it would be encroachment. I would say, so that would be the encroachment, and that would be the call for that.
Let me, I guess, challenge you just a touch here. Now, I'm just intrigued by the use of your language, and so if you were going to be following a particular play where the quarterback hands off to a halfback and he plunges ahead through the line and makes the first down, how would that sound?
Okay. First down.
Oh boy, that's
a mouthful.
Right, that's amazing. Morgan asked the question about how did you come up with the terms and things, and what that did was remind me of the challenges that the code talkers had in coming up with words in military language, like airplane or tank or bomb or Japanese enemy. Would you compare your challenge then in football terminology to what the code talkers went through?
Well, I did have the opportunity to sit down with a couple of code talkers and also had them on one of my broadcasts down in Las Cruces when Hawaii was playing against New Mexico State University, and they got in on the calls too. That was pretty neat. That was the opportunity there. But I wouldn't say that it was something that's similar. I don't know, because I don't know what they went through. They told me the history, but I think that in comparison, I don't know about that. I got to humble myself and not say that I was the same thing, because I'm doing it by myself. They were doing it as a team. They were doing it for the world and the country. And for me, I'm just doing it just to save the language.
Has your program kind of promoted kids getting involved with the language, youth getting involved in sports maybe?
Excuse me?
Has your program like helped promote like your youth getting involved in language learning or sports?
Well, I encourage the community to listen, but I'm not out there actively trying to be in classrooms and do that. Number one, because of COVID. Number two is just that I've not had the time to get that opportunity yet. But when I'm able to, I'll probably be back in the classrooms and talking to students about our language and important.
Yeah.
That is, important to all of us, and for the sake of our people and for our identity, and most importantly, our heritage.
I wonder if, teaching the youth how to do these sports things in their language might, kind of increase that usage of language. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I'm always looking for students to, speak the language. I have a student here at studio who also is learning to talk Navajo, and I'm encouraging her to talk on the radio Navajo.
The whole idea is just still, I think, amazes me. Now, I've heard several native languages like, Lakota or Ojibwe, and I was just always fascinated by it. And I think, this is the way to connect with our people and keep that language actively alive. Now, you just pretty much said as much there in your last comment, though. But does it give you a sense of pride, though, to feel like you're making this connection?
Absolutely. I am always proud of where I come from and who I am. I think that I would be where I'm at without the teachings and the understanding that I received from my grandfather, my grandmas, and those elderly that are no longer with us that I have learned a great deal from. And for me to carry on this far for them, I think that that's what they would have wanted. And yes, I take a great deal of pride in what I do, and I have to have the confidence to be the one who is the agent of change, to be influencing our youth in this era.
One of the things our language department faces is the challenge that there are, I guess, different dialects in different parts of the Mvskoke Nation. Like one person might use a word for, I can't even think of anything right now. That berwa, for Thanksgiving, a turkey. But someone down south may have a different term or a different description for the word. So are there dialects in the Navajo, Dene language that make these kind of differences?
Yeah, there are different dialects. There are different regional dialects that I'm faced with. Right now, I got one of our elderly who is helping me to broadcast, and he's teaching me some of the regional dialects that we have here as well. I bring a different type of style, and he helps me to kind of blend that, and which I like it. I appreciate it, and I respect the dialects from the different regions, and try to incorporate that in different ways. But the style that I have for what I call the names, I keep that the same.
So you have like your own kind of built dialect around all of them.
Yeah. So for example, if we're describing the weather, there's certain dialects that are involved as well. Or if we're food, they're serving this kind of food. There's different ways of saying those things. The dialect is different sometimes. But when it comes down to calling the game, I'll call it the way there's just the way I've learned it, and the way I've incorporated all of the terms.
So what all are the resources that you use to be able to kind of do this? Did you know the language growing up? Did you have to learn it? What process did you have to go through?
Like I always say, I don't remember ever learning how to speak the language. It was just always there. A I've always spoke it. I guess it was my first language when I was growing up. My grandfather always told us that, he wouldn't allow us to speak the Navajo or English inside his home, and I grew up living with my grandpa, and that's how I guess that's how I spoke the language, was just around him, and we would always I grew up around him. A lot of my cousins and my brothers, my sisters, we grew up around my grandfather, and that's how we learned it. It wasn't I don't know. There's something that you get when you're growing up that you don't remember these things. I don't remember when he was telling me, like, you say it like this or you say it like that. It was just spoken. It was my first language, and was made fun of when I was in elementary and picked on because I spoke Navajo language. But I've always continued to speak it.
Right, and it sounds like in your home it was speak it or don't speak.
Yeah. Actually, it was English. We couldn't speak English inside my grandfather's home. One time I brought home a book, and I opened it. I was happy that I was going to learn how to, I learned how to read, and I stood on a chair, and then my grandpa said, "Can you read it in Navajo?" Now that's where the trick is, and I always remember that vividly, and I cried because I couldn't do it in Navajo, and my mom used to teach me how to read. I used to bring back my homework from school, and she used to take me into the cornfield, and we would read privately over there, and she would teach me words and stuff like that in English, but in Navajo I had to speak it around the house, and everything was spoken like that.
Sounds like you had a wonderful upbringing there with such strong cultural reinforcement.
I think it was because my grandfather was oppressed, and he always talks about, like, they wouldn't let me speak my language in school, so now my offspring is gonna be speaking my language. I think that was his intent, thinking back on it.
Now that's really good, and it's kind of really different than some of the issues we face here. Like in growing up in my home, my grandparents, they still speak Creek fluently, but it's hard to get them to teach you, and that's kind of something we run across here and why our language is dying.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different, yeah.
I was growing up. My grandfather, he died. He was about 98 years old. He passed away back in '97, and he was very influential. And also my grandmother, but they didn't live together. But my grandmother as well. My maternal grandmother, we would live with her and on the mountain, herd sheep with them, and we took care of her as well, and had the opportunity to be around them and but understand their ways of life and how they grew up.
Let me ask you, one of my favorite things is, the other side of the coin. Difficulties. Was there different words or phrases that you ran across that just didn't work, or something that perhaps you had described incorrectly or mispronounced something? You ever run across any of that?
Oh, absolutely. Every time, because something sounds funny, and I always add the humor to that. That's what the humor is. Sometimes they're nasty, but sometimes they're funny, and sometimes they're just like blatantly wrong, but by mistake. Sometimes I'll do those things, or sometimes intentionally, just to add some humor to the game. But yes, that's the challenge, and that's the beauty of it, and that's what brings out the colorfulness of the language, and the humor, and also just to keep people engaged. But overall, I've run into a lot of problems. But where sports broadcasting came from, and also how I developed that, was from one of the a late broadcaster that I listened to when I was growing up, and then also had the opportunity to sit down with and talk to him about how broadcasting in Navajo and talking in public to Navajo with using the Navajo language. His name was Leandro Jody. I broadcasted with him down at Louisiana State University, and he was very instrumental in how he taught me how to do public speaking, and also how to utilize language in sports.
That's amazing. I'm one of those Indian guys who, grew up in a family where mom was Cherokee and father was Creek, and somehow the languages didn't get spoken a lot at home. So I grew up essentially without it. But when I came back home to work with the Mvskoke Nation, one of the first things I did was enroll in a language class. And it made me so appreciative of what it was and how to use it, and pride in being able to know what somebody said, even if it was just, Ifa Lusty, black dog, I could understand it. And it made me feel so good. So I appreciate, the effort that you've made there. And I envy you, your fluency in your own native languages there. Mr. Frank, we're going to have to wrap this up, but if there was a quick word you wanted to leave with our audience, what might it be? Or if you were going to introduce your show as you come on the air, what would that sound like?
I do a morning show, so this morning I was talking, I was saying good morning to everybody, and telling, I usually just start with plain English, just saying good morning. That's it. After that, it's fine, I can't, because I'm not because KCZY, though, not CSD. They are going to be it. I just say, and where a not and come to the young, a since then tell you how it will be up in the other that is no side, yeah, that is no side, or we just say, the cut that in the school now was just don't the it's also taught them your cost. And I said good morning to everybody, and said that you got your breakfast, got your food. I hope that makes you feel really better as you're listening to me. And I want you to have all the good blessings that all of the morning gives us. And today, right now, it is 9 o'clock, and it is November the 3rd, and it's Wednesday. Enjoy your day as I bring you all of this entertainment.
Gosh, that was cool.
He does it so easy.
Yeah. Well, listen, we wish you well, and want to thank you for taking time. I know you're a manager; you got to be busy too. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll leave you with 2,000 Bados.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys for doing this, and maybe we can do a broadcast sometimes on our radio station as well.
Oh yeah,
Ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah, we'd love to. But my head is good. Okay, well, I tell you what, say hello to all of your listeners for me, and perhaps we'll cross trails in person here soon.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, everybody, and we're going to play this service announcement for you guys.
Hello, everyone. I'm Angela King with the Stroke Prevention Program. With the support of the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board and Mvskoke Nation, we want to help Native Americans in our community lower their risk for stroke and heart disease. 80% of strokes are preventable just by reducing health-related risk factors. If you are interested in how to reduce your risks, please contact me at 539-299-1530. Again, that number is 539-299-1530.
Okay, well, we're in the process of trying to get our next guest on the line. This happens sometimes in live radio. Hold on. Well, we'll hammer along here and try and get him back in a second here. In the meantime, we want to. There we go. We want to share some of the announcements. Now, this is the time when we observe the contributions and sacrifices that our veterans have made. And we were scheduled here to talk with Grover Wind, and we'll keep trying. Maybe we can hook him on the line. But in the meantime, we're going to share some of this information. First of all, the Mvskoke Nation Veterans Day celebration is Thursday, November 11th of this year. From 8 to 9:15, they'll be having an open house at the Mvskoke Nation Veterans Affairs Building, and refreshments will be provided, although I don't know if that'll be fry bread or not. And on later that morning at 9:30, there will be a recognition of Mvskoke veterans. Principal Chief Hill and Second Chief Beaver will be participating. And at 10 a.m., there will be a 21-gun salute by the Mvskoke Nation Honor Guard. Now, these will be wonderful ceremonies. They'll be at the Mvskoke Veterans Flag Memorial Park.
All right, everybody, don't forget November 5th, that is Friday, the Sapulpa Creek Indian Community Veterans 2021 program will start at 6:30. That's at 1020 North Brown Street, Sapulpa.
Okay. The Tulsa VFW Post 577 presents the Vietnam Moving Wall. That'll be November 4th through the 7th this year at Veterans Park. That's at 1028 East 6th Street in Tulsa. Now, for any of you who are familiar with the wall in Washington, D.C., it is dedicated to the more than 50,000 American service people who sacrificed their lives in the Vietnam War. You call it the moving wall, and I think moving works two ways. One, they move it around so many people can see it, but you can't come see it without being moved. Now, I've seen big, huge, tough-looking veterans, with tears in their eyes, and they've seen this wall, and this is your chance to check out the moving version. A remembrance ceremony is November 6th this year at 2 p.m., and that's open to the public. Once again, that is 1028 East 6th Street in Tulsa.
I am going there this afternoon to meet up with some veterans, actually.
Wonderful. That's got to be a
Yes.
good story.
So medication take-back event will be Thursday, November 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this is really important, guys. It's at the Oklahoma State University Institute of Technology here in Okmulgee. Take those old medicines and get rid of them correctly. Don't dump them down the toilet or anything like that.
No, it doesn't do our streams any good. The sewage plant doesn't like it, and you can end up polluting our environment. Why don't you go ahead and try the phone line again, and I've got a couple more announcements to share here. The Cultural Center and Archives Department and the Creek Nation Council House invite departments and organizations to light up the lawn this holiday season. Please check out the flyer for more information. It's Light Up Council House Square. And the department is asking folks to help them out there. They need to provide trees, tree stand decorations and lights, and they will provide electricity and signage. So if your department is interested in putting up a tree and taking part in that celebration, we hope that you will be interested in taking part in that. And let's see, what else can we share on that? Mvskoke Nation entries and organizations need to reserve their tree space no later than November 10th. So if you want to put a tree up for your department, then you want to activate your people there and have it done. Get a hold of them by the November 10th. Let's really make this a wonderful holiday. All those participating will have signage by the tree or their spot on the lawn on Monday, November 29th, and may start decorating at this time. Now, trees must be decorated by Friday, December 3rd at 5 p.m. So no ending time involved there. You got to be there and be on time, just like broadcast and callers that don't make it. Be sure to provide a contact person so they can work on your communication there. For more information or to reserve your spot, call 918-549-2434.
All right, everyone, we got a fun event coming from the Eufaula Canadian Tribal Town. It'll be a Natives Arts and Crafts / Indian Taco Sale Saturday, November 13th at the Eufaula Community Center. There's vendors available, or you can be a vendor for $25 for your booth space, and you must supply your own stuff, your chairs, tables, etc. There are outside spaces available, demonstrators are welcome, and there will be a 50-50 pot and consolation prize. Contact John Tiger, 918-850-3806 for more information. This is the same one.
Okay. Finally here, the College of the Mvskoke Nation is inviting people and recruiting staff members there, not necessarily an educator, but they are looking for 2 armed security officers. So I imagine you would have to have all your credentials, your CLEAT certification, and have a nice interview with those folks. So if you want to come join their team, you might want to apply at www.cmn.edu or give them a call at 948-549-2800. That's the College of the Mvskoke Nation and Armed Security Officers. Okay, we've got time left and nothing left to do it with. So we're going to chit-chat here for a little bit and then we're going to bail, I think. First of all, we want to have everyone has shared some patience with us as we've broken in a new crew member here, and I think she's done okay.
I hope I haven't botched it too much for you guys.
Were you nervous?
I was a little bit, but getting on here, it's kind of lightened up throughout the show.
Yeah,
A little bit, yeah. I'll be definitely more confident next time. But it was like my first time on the radio show, too. I was super nervous, and then, as time went on, I evolved to be more comfortable. So it's just getting in there, getting your foot in the door.
Well, good. Now, you probably will be hearing more of her, especially through the holidays, when yours truly will take some time off and go hide somewhere.
Much deserved, Gary. You deserve it, and you need to go deer hunting this year.
Yes, I'm definitely doing that. I got my 270 out the other day and checked it out, and I was ready to go. I'm hoping that the new meat processing plant, Loop Square, is up and running by then. Now, you've been working on that story. Have you got any news for us there?
Yes, so I've been in contact with Trent Kazee. He is the director of the Department of Ag and Natural Resources. He's been a head runner on the meat plant. He's in there this week. They're training staff now, he said, as of Monday. Or they're getting staff in there, and we'll start training on Monday. And he'll be in here on the 17th to talk about the meat plant and when it'll be opening. They were projected to have opened on November 1st, but that didn't happen. So he said hopefully by the end of this month they'll have a date, and maybe he can share that news with us when he's on the show.
I'm hoping so. Right now, if I am so blessed with a harvest, I really haven't got a place to take it, because the one I've been using in past years is shut down for a couple of years, and I'm kind of looking around and don't trust anybody.
Yeah, maybe you can plan it out to get it in on that opening date.
Yeah, that would be cool. Now, what I usually do, and this may be blasphemy to some venison connoisseurs, that I usually have it processed and just all done in hamburger. That way it's easy, to use for several dishes. Like I've had my wife, who's Ojibwe and had, deer in her early diet, but things like, spaghetti and meatballs.
Deer spaghetti. I've never tried that, but I'm going to suggest my mom make it. No.
Yeah, I'm going to see if we can make a little meatball.
Yeah, my stepdad, he's an avid hunter, and so they always have deer all year long, and she just made some deer chili not too long ago, and it was so good, and this time of year it just hits just right.
Yeah, I was going to suggest chili as my second choice. Now, my wife can do that. She's a northerner, but she's learned how to pick up on making some Oklahoma-style chili here. And last time she did was pretty good. So, if anybody has any other recipes or something they want to share with us, then we'll see if we can have time to do that. Now, do you hunt? Do you actually take a rifle out and look around?
I have, but not too much anymore. But my son, he's 3, and he keeps telling me that he's going to kill a deer this year. And I'm like, if you're so determined, I guess I have to take you. But I'll probably send him with my stepdad so I don't have to do that.
No, yeah. And let him teach him how to field dress it.
Yeah, I'm probably not the best person with a gun.
No, well, yeah, let's not do that. We've had some pretty good luck here working on a lot of stories for this program. And We'll be looking at the holidays, which is always a challenge. So make sure that you let us know about your celebrations and events, and we'd like to share those with our listeners, and if we can get Indian taco or two out of it for ourselves.
Hey, I like those Indian tacos, especially when they're just, free.
That can be one of the perks of this business. Sometimes, you go do a story on an event.
You get a treat, yeah.
Or if they're doing it in Mvskoke traditional style, you get a full meal. Or sit down and unbox check.
I got gifted for doing the charcuterie diva story. Remember the plate they made us, and it was so good. That might be a story anybody can check out. It should be on our Facebook by now. It's in this edition, the charcuterie divas. They make those charcuterie plates, and it has all those treats on it. And so you might check those out if you're looking for a holiday platter of some sort. They're out of Coweta. They have a Facebook, charcuterie divas.
Okay, we'll have to check that out. We've done several food stories. Of course, we always do the annual wild dinner season. And sometimes you get a little something out of that. Other times, you have to support them in their fundraising.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But have you noticed that the price of a wild onion dinner now is going up?
Well, I've noticed that just in general.
Well, yeah.
Everything's going up. And so, yeah. And, it's weird. When I was a kid, you could just walk around. And I grew up in Henrietta, so it was, kind of southern area. You could just smell wild onions, and now I feel like you can't anymore. And I wonder if that's been an issue. Maybe that's something we could look into.
Yeah, I think we will. To see if Reservation Dogs does an episode on wild onions.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
They better.
Yeah, but, we've lucked out. I've often got a piece of fry bread or something out of it. Walk around and get your microphone greasy.
Get it all greased up, huh?
Yeah, well, that's part of the perks of being a reporter sometimes. Now, we've had, other things like, Sofky.
Sofky, I love some Sofky. Warm, it's the spot.
Sounds like a story we're going to have to do then. If there are any really good Sofky cooks out there, please get in touch with us, and maybe we'll get you on the show and you can share your recipes, unless it's so secret that you won't share it with anybody.
That secret language, in Native Americans, it's there sometimes, and you're just like, I just need to know.
Or when elder ladies refuse to disclose their best onion patch.
I know, yeah. They don't ever want to give the secrets. I'm like, I can help you, and you can help me.
No.
They don't want help. They're independent.
Or they just don't want to give away the secret. Now, which brings up several interesting ideas for our listeners. If you've got recipes or things about traditional foods and cooking, please get in touch with us. We'd love to do a show, particularly if you're cooking.
Yes, if you are cooking. No. This is a good time to do that stuff because people are cooking during this time. It's the holidays. Everybody's bringing out those dishes to events or to family things, and so that's something we always like to cover. It's fun. It's informational. It's cultural. And also if you have any good onion patches, let me know, because I know a lady that will buy them from me.
Well, that's an interesting side income there.
But also, if anybody has those stories, my number is 918-732-7644. That's my office number. Feel free to contact me on any stories, really. I like to jump on things and tackle it and make a story out of it.
Well, that brings us to another topic. Shift gears here. Since we've gotten the approval of our citizens for the Freedom of Press Amendment, the constitutional amendment, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted on off our shoulders.
I agree.
And the responsibilities, of course, have remained. Like we're going to do this, we're going to have to do it right and make sure that people are treated fairly and stories are accurate and things like that. And some of the best sources and ideas have actually come from citizens, talking about the achievements of their kids in school, which is human interest story, or the battle we've got right now with the governor and some people's feeling the effects that's had on it. And if I may editorialize here for a second, I was shocked and disappointed when Tulsa mayor came out and
jumped on board with that.
Yeah, and I think, this is the thing that a hostile governor has tried to impose on us, and it's, forgive me, sir, but it's really stupid for you to do that.
Right. And see, so here's my stance on it. I'll try to keep it as factual as possible.
And clean.
Last year he was on our side, promoting us, supporting us. He was for McGirt. And every he was coming out and doing news things and claiming that he was for McGirt. And so now we're here a year later. Apparently the governor has some position he needs filled, and so now Mayor Bynum has, for some reason, got on board with Governor Stitt.
One of the things I read is that he threw his support that way without talking to the Greater Tulsa Indian Affairs Commission, which I presume was set up to be an advisory board, saying, this is a good idea, please get behind it. It will strengthen relations with tribes. But then he did this on his own, or something in the cover of darkness, almost, behind people's back, and said, we support it.
Right. And so, that I did hear that, and I think Liz went and covered that. They had a couple different forums for public comment, and, one of them was done without even informing, I think, the Indian Affairs Commission of Tulsa, and she went and covered that when she found out about it, and I do believe that's not right. I mean, this is an issue regarding Native Americans. Why would you not contact or inform them of a forum you're having? But I think we've run into this issue several times. And, Tulsa has 3 different reservation or nations inside of its own city limits. There's the Osage, the Cherokees, and mostly the Mvskoke Nation.
Right.
And they have a high number of Native American citizens in Tulsa and in that area. So for them to not inform, they're trying to go around Native Americans on this issue that has nothing to do with them. It's about the Native Americans.
Right. And we're talking about here is a legally established, constitutionally approved by the highest court in the nation, saying, hey, you know what, this is correct.
Yes.
They're playing by our rules, and our rules say that the reservations are still here. So even though that our societal relationships have not always, actually never really favored Native peoples and tribal governments, I don't feel like we're going to do anybody any good by creating this divisiveness.
Not at all. I mean, we need to unite at some point over something, and it kind of seemed like once we got our, ruling never disestablished, it kind of seemed like there was a hope or a sliver of hope of connecting with other governments, and then that quickly just dissipated, went out the door. Our own governor has turned on us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and and it's not good for us.
It's really divisive. I mean, it picks up a trend that's always been with us. No matter what state you're in, it's like we're the white guys, we're in charge. And don't, please listeners, don't take me wrong there. It's just like the dominant society has flexed its muscle and control over this nation for a couple of centuries now. And legally, tribal governments were still in existence. Now, I always try and reinforce my statements like that with saying our relationship with the federal government is unlike anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
It is not a racial thing. It is a political.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like when settlers came in and they had to make land deals, they had to do it with the local government, which was the tribe. And they've honored that in the flowery languages that have accompanied those documents. But they just found out, hey, guess what? We painted ourselves into a corner. The sovereignty issue still stands, and those reservations are still here legally.
Legally, and what did the treaty say? As the grass is green and the water flows, or something like that. The reservations are never disestablished, and I think, I see trees, and maybe they're turning a little yellow right now or orange, but they're still there. There's still some green there. And I see water and it's still running, and you can't argue with me about that,
Yeah, or if you go downtown Tulsa, you can see the Council Oak.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was there when those first Native people came and stayed alive and part of the country. So even though it was almost destroyed by lightning 2 or 3 times, it's still there.
And another thing is the gathering place that
Exactly.
That belonged to Sam Tuckabuchee, and I may be saying that wrong, and his family and descendants, and it has turned into a public park, which is great, but I think we should not forget where that come from, and it would not have been possible without first of all moving us here, us being here, and us having our own land, and so it would have. None of this would be possible without Native Americans.
Speaking of the gathering place, they are honoring Native American Month and have several events going on, I think even this coming week. On the weekends, they've got some things scheduled, so you might want to check it out. It is a wonderful place to walk around.
They do a really good job in honoring Native Americans, so that I am grateful for. Yes, and so you can probably check out their events on their Facebook at the gathering place, I'm sure. So.
Right. Now, let's see. We're about running out of stuff to talk about.
We've done a good job keeping it up.
Oh, yeah. No,
we never got a call back either, so.
No, so I'm going to talk to him about that. So we had to do your job for you there, guy. But, in the future, we're going to be still challenged. McGirt decision's taken another twist. Of course, Bynum has strengthened his support for it, and other states have come along and filed briefs to support the stance of the state of Oklahoma. And that's not going to change. So it's going to be a knockdown, drag out in court when they say, "Okay, let's do this. Let's finally get it done," and everybody shut up afterwards.
I know. I'm curious as how many appeals it'll try to go through before it gets decided.
Right. What else have we got? We have our own elections coming up.
Yes, that's exciting. Well, there's been a lot of craziness go on with that on its own. So
right.
That'll be Saturday, November 13th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Right, and I understand they are still looking at a court case that has... someone's filed and saying it was illegal, or there was just a little bit of shadiness there.
From my understanding, regarding just the date of the election, we just had our full council meeting Saturday, and then that they set that date before the legislation had passed. So, Chief, I'm sure Chief has signed it by now, but there's still a possibility that he hasn't signed that, saying that that can be the day of the postponed election.
Push is coming to shove, so I think you better get something done.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll sign it.
And people will remember if he doesn't, and it creates chaos. It's just like the big national elections. Someone's saying that maybe part of it got stolen.
There's always something to be said. But yeah, they sent out absentee ballots, I think, on Monday.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that if you're an absentee voter, and get it in as soon as possible. They've paid, I think they put some money back, according to legislation, for it to be expedited. So
I hope so,
yeah.
And then we can get this thing settled.
Yes.
And that's the ruling bodies of our nation now. And let's see, what else we got here? On the national scene, we've got things happening. The Biden administration so far has been friendly towards Native affairs. The return of Bears Ears Monument back to its normal, regular size instead of cutting it up for somebody's coal company or development.
Well, thank goodness.
And Secretary Holland is a strong supporter of that. She's shown her presence, I think. Now, that's got to be a tough job. You've got to represent all of America, but your heart is Native.
Yeah, and she's a woman.
Yes, a strong woman. I think she's doing a pretty decent job there.
Yes, I just admire her and her work, and the boarding school initiative. That'll be interesting once it gets started. So I'll be trying to follow that.
Well, the issue there has been around forever, as is the cases of missing and murdered Indian women. I'm glad to see it getting the publicity and notice that it has been in the major media. And speaking of media, it's kind of interesting to watch the big boy in the area, KOTV. They've been adding a lot more Native stories. I think the Cherokee Public Relations Department's been working overtime, but it's good to see them including this material in the regular newscasts. It's like we were never there before.
I know. Even my dad had said, it wasn't like this growing up. And then when he watched Res Dogs, he said, I never thought I'd see something like this on TV. I said, it's evolving, Dad, and it's getting bigger and bigger. We're getting bigger.
Gosh. Yes. And that show has been renewed, by the way, for the season 2.
Woo!
And I understand there's still some people who are new to it or just discovering it. And
it's
walking
funny.
Around holding their sides from the pain of laughing that hard.
It is funny. But it does hit some deep spots. Some deep spots.
And I guess some of the viewers may not catch it all, but we do.
Yes.
The thing with the owl.
That was so funny. Had the eyes covered and everything. It was so funny. Wouldn't even look at it.
And the Tulsa World did an extensive story on the Deer Lady segment.
Oh, wow.
Continental Horns.
I'm excited. I'll have to go read that.
Oh, yeah, it's worth it. It's nice to see.
Well, if we have one more minute, I'll just say Gary had his a recent article written about him in the Indian country today, and it was very interesting. And if you would like to, you can go on their website and read it. It was at the beginning of this month, right? You did that?
Yeah. We covered some ancient history there when the news still went out on a manual typewriter and a mimeograph, and now we've got instant connections with the internet and things.
Yeah, Gary's been in it for a long time, and there's a lot of his personal story in that article.
Yeah, a few that I refuse to tell. Anyway, I tell you what, we've got about 6 or 7 seconds here. You feel like bailing out?
All right, everybody.
Okay. Mado, mabo, hediska.
Mado.
You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.